Welcome to another episode of J Inclusive. Please share, like, comment, subscribe, and set your notifications on so you are alerted every time I upload. Back in 2012, rising R&B star Frank Ocean did something important. At first, few observers agreed on what he'd done. Headlines varied on quickly assembled gossip reports, from the measured to the hyperbolic. Frank Ocean, my first love was a man. Frank Ocean comes clean about his bisexuality, and I applaud him for it. Frank Ocean pulls an Anderson Cooper and comes out of the closet. After a journalist who attended a listening party for Ocean's then new album, Channel Orange, noted that several of the songs were addressed to a male love object, the singer and songwriter turned to his own webpage and published two long paragraphs. They began with a declaration of empathy. Whoever you are, whatever you are, I'm starting to think we're a lot alike, and proceeded to tell of the Louisianan's first romance at 19 with a male friend who apparently reciprocated on some level, but refused Ocean's ultimate attempt to name their love. Ocean unfolded his confession in a poetic but reserved manner, promising his former heart's companion one last thing. Some things never are, and we were. I won't forget you. I won't forget the summer. I'll remember who I was when I met you. Ocean wrote of the moment his friend rejected him. This brief window into a summer place mattered on a few levels. It was a kind of coming out, a revelation from a public figure that he's had serious relationships with both men and women. In the R&B world, this was nearly unprecedented. Los Angeles Times music writer Jarek D. Kennedy called it the glass ceiling moment for music, especially black music, which at the time had long been in desperate need of a voice like Ocean's to break the layers of homophobia. On Ebony.com, Jamila Lemieux noted that while few urban artists openly embrace homosexuality, many are in the closet with the glass door, living a life they don't reveal in their music. I hope that Frank Ocean doesn't become the gay singer, for it would be criminally unfair for him to wear that label, as so many of his peers are sleeping with and loving same-gendered persons while selling images of hyper-heterosexuality. There was another reason why Ocean couldn't be saddled with an easy label, and it pointed to an interesting aspect of his minted self-conception. In his note, instead of embracing an identity, Ocean shared a set of memories and explored complex feelings, just as he does in his songs. The emotional open letter on his Tumblr blog detailed a past relationship with a man whom he described as his first love. Ocean wrote, 4 summers ago I met somebody. I was 19 years old. We spent that summer and the summer after together. Every day almost. By the time I realized I was in love, it was malignant. It was hopeless. There was no escaping, no negotiating with the feeling, no choice. It was my first love. It changed my life. Unlike the standard coming out gesture, Ocean presented sexuality as something that arises within particular circumstances, defined by shifting desire and individual encounters, rather than solidifying as an identity. In the age-old debate about whether sexuality emerges as something we are or through something we want or do, Ocean carefully rested on the side of feeling and deed. I'll leave it to others to debate whether Ocean's way of expressing his sexuality went far enough. What's for sure is that it fit neatly within the evolution of popular music at that time. Pop artists have celebrated sexuality as fluid and dynamic for at least a century. Bessie Smith was just one of many early blues queens who sang of loving both women and men. Little Richard is only the most visible of R&B dandies, whose queerness helped define early rock and roll. Ocean's public statement about having loved a man definitely contributed to the cause of greater visibility for LGBTQ artists and people, but in his music, he's not so much pioneering as finding his place in a rich, if far from simple history. There is a lineage of African American artists who've presented broader definitions of sexuality through their songs and their public personalities as well. Though homophobia has certainly kept many more from living fully honest lives, Kalefa Sana's 2010 New Yorker profile of the gospel artist Tonex explored how homophobia can impact an artist within that community. David Hydu's biography of Duke Ellington's collaborator Billy Strayhorn showed how the lyricist's life was one of the few openly gay men in mid-century jazz who helped shape classic songs like Lush Life. In the fantasy space of performance, artists have often been able to articulate what they otherwise feel they must hide. Ocean's statement was a kind of performance. Certainly, it was a creative work, but it was also a strategic move for a young man connected to mainstream R&B music, one whose path to LGBTQ pride wasn't as clear as Don Lemon, where it may be more acceptable to be anything other than heterosexual. By telling a tale that also reflected the more problematic side of fluid sexuality, the side that's about denial and taking refuge in more conventional heterosexual relationships, Ocean reflected on a much discussed experience within Black communities while avoiding the kind of grandstanding that might off-put some less than LGBTQ-friendly fan. Some listeners thought that Ocean might have just been playing with characters when they first heard his songs using male pronouns. In a sense, he was, but in the same way that anyone closeted does. The character you create may be your own tragically false self. Some still debate whether or not Ocean's story helped to open doors for more acceptance of Black gay or bisexual men in mainstream hip-hop and R&B. But for every step forward, there seemed to be a half step back. The rapper Lil Wayne retorted, "No Frank Ocean, I'm straight," on a song released shortly after Ocean's revelation. Some celebrities, like Stevie Wonder, offered wildly conflicting statements to the press, stating, "Honestly, some people who think they're gay are confused," said Wonder to The Guardian, before quickly recanting his statement. "I'm sorry that my words about feeling confused about their love were misunderstood. No one has been a greater advocate for the power of love than I, both in my life and in my music." Snoop Dogg had also lent strong words of support for Ocean, as did rappers 50 Cent and Nas.
Out there like that.
Oh, I didn't know whether it was marketing because of the timing of it. Like you said, it was a week before his release. I think the actual gay community would have to get out and support Frank Ocean. Or it would seem like because he's actually gay, people aren't buying his record.
Would you think of him as an artist, just music-wise?
I think he's cool. The Novocaine record was dope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't have a problem with Frank Ocean. I think if you have a problem with Frank Ocean, you should have had a problem with Luther Vandross. You should have had a problem with Kenny Green. You know, like it's not the first time a male R&B artist, chose alternative lifestyle.
Yeah.
The first time they said it for the first time a week before the release of the record. I'd want to work with Frank Ocean. It's content now. Because you just left that fresh on people's minds. Now, what is the song about? You know what I'm saying? Like, when he did Novocaine, it wasn't a love record. It was dope. Just the music, content. Now, a lot of times, people in the R&B genre cling to love. And I get really excited when they make really strong efforts that don't actually have love involved or relationship-based content.
Are there artists that you're already thinking about? Like, I know so many people talked about the Frank Ocean song That Never Was. Are there artists that you're just like, this is going to be that moment where we connect this year on this project, on this album?
I would love to reconnect with Frank Ocean. As far as that's concerned, we talk about that song.
Frank Ocean just recently came out with a statement saying that he was in a relationship long ago. Do you think hip hop's ready for like someone of a different sexual orientation, or are they going to be accepting of it, or what are your opinions on that?
I don't know if it's just about hip hop being willing to accept it. I think the whole world is ready to accept whatever people choose to be in life. You know what I'm saying? From hip hop all the way down to just the common man that walks the streets and the earth every day. It's like we're at a place in life where, we got to respect and accept what people choose as their path that they want to walk in life. Because ultimately, you want people to respect what you choose as your path in your journey in life. And ultimately, whatever that man does in his personal space is that man's choice and it's that man's business. I am an extremely huge fan of Frank Ocean. His music is impeccable to me. And as far as I'm concerned, I respect the dude completely. I think, whatever he does at home is his business. Just keep that music popping the way you've been keeping it, brother. And you got my money from the concerts. You got my money from when you put them albums in the stores, and it ain't gonna stop. As long as you continue to contribute your greatness, God.
Meanwhile, Ice-T, who stepped into the Ocean debate in an interview with the Associated Press, dismissed Ocean's music as pop rap, saying, "At this moment right now, we're in the world of pop rap. And it doesn't really matter right now. These guys are singing. It's pop music, and being in pop and gay is okay. It would be difficult to listen to a gay gangster rapper. If you're a gangster rapper like myself and Ice Cube, if one of us came out and said something, that would be a big thing. Since then, artists like Janelle Monáe, I Love McConaughey, Young M.A., Tyler the Creator, Kalani, August Alsina, Angel Hayes, Enek, and one of the most talked about stars on the planet, Lil Nas X, have all openly embraced their queer identity. But much like what Ice-T stated, they are pop or R&B artists. Yes, Tyler the Creator goes hard, but he's considered alternative hip-hop. Some critics felt as though the public was trying too hard to place Ocean in a position of LGBT representation, when in reality his statements were vague and his actions thereafter hinted towards him not wanting to take on that role. One journalist wrote, "This mode of exaggerated praise was bestowed upon the release of Ocean's album, 2016's Blonde. Headlines boasted of its radical queerness, argued that it redefined pop queerness, hailed it as a queer masterpiece, and praised the album for how it asked us to see queerness as the new normal." But these were all statements from white writers embellishing black sexuality. Well-meaning or not, a handful of the glowing reviews surrounding Ocean are more indicative of a perception about black people's relationship with sexuality and gender than what he's actually offering fans. It can often feel as if there is a clamor for representation, to the point where people are willing to magnify moments that are actually minuscule. All levels of progress should be celebrated, but within reason. And in this instance, with the understanding that artists like Mickey Blanco, Young M.A., and Sid have spoken to queer realities with just as much clarity, if not more. It's not about minimizing Ocean's contributions. It's about appreciating them for what they really are, snippets into a life that rejects rigid definition. It's about understanding that he is still very much a person who lives in the gray, outside of bold categorization. In 2025, mainstream rap still does not have any openly gay male artist blazing the charts, owning his sexuality, and not shockingly, the genre is still insanely homophobic. Rappers such as Drake and NLE Choppa, who's been accused of gay baiting, are often questioned by fans when they challenge gender norms. Even when it comes to this Diddy situation, there are people only care about the story because of Diddy's alleged dealings with other men in the industry. Then you have rappers like DaBaby going on random, unprovoked rants at concerts.
You didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that'll make you die in 2-3 weeks. Put a cell phone light in the air. Lady, if you like water, put a cell phone light in the air. Fellas,
lights up.
Fellas, if you ain't suck in the parking lot, put your cell phone lights in the air.
Let's be real about this.
Yeah, keep it.
Still, we can thank Frank Ocean, not only for making a public statement that swept aside shadows and offered young black gay fans of that era another powerfully vulnerable star to admire and emulate. His statement reminded us that while proudly declaring an identity can be a politically crucial gesture, often the human heart is not so sure-footed. Sometimes same-gender love is just an experience, and those involved don't need to be defined as gay, bisexual, or any part of the spectrum of queerness. The process of becoming and unbecoming, loving and losing, is what often makes for the most meaningful art.